Effective at noon on July 1st, I will officially step down as governor and pass this honor on to Lieutenant Governor Jody Rell.
In 2004, former Governor John Rowland pled guilty to federal charges of conspiracy to steal honest services.
So after Rowland was driven out of office, there was a lot of interest suddenly in reforming the way that campaigns worked, because people saw them, all this money in campaigns, as really one of the sources of corruption in Connecticut. And I think that they were right about that. So what happened was Governor Jody Rell pushed for campaign finance reform.
Jody Rell, the incoming Republican governor, had proposed a campaign finance reform that was good. It wasn't great, but it was a good proposal to try to clean up the image of Connecticut. What happened was the Democrats then tried to outdo her with a better proposal. She then tried to outdo them with an even better proposal, and Connecticut ended up going from having no campaign finance system to arguably the best campaign finance system.
The new campaign finance laws not only restricted large donations, but also created a system for candidates to receive public financing.
And the goal of the public financing system was to say that getting special interest money out of politics was so important that what we would do is very similar to what they do in European countries and other places, and that is, if you want to participate in public financing, you raise a little bit of money to show that you're a serious candidate. Then you go and you get a public grant that will pay for your campaign, and in return, you cannot take any of the private money.
However, in 2011, in the case Citizens United against the FEC, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations were the same as people, meaning their donations could not be restricted due to our First Amendment.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
As a result of this case, many of Connecticut's laws had to be revised.
It basically let a lot of the money that had been taken out back in. And so now it's a lot easier under our campaign finance rules for outside groups to spend a lot of money on campaigns in Connecticut. And we're actually seeing a lot of the ramifications of that now.
The governor's race this year cost over $30 million, which is a large amount of money. So the campaign finance is really integral to what's going on. The way I look at it is to find out how or if this might change or affect the race, or what is the impact on the race.
Spending a lot of money on campaigns is also a way to influence policy, get access to politicians. Certainly fundraisers, they sell things like access to politicians. It's a way for corruption to enter the system.
The big money, can it buy access? Yes. But does that influence actual decisions? I would say at my level, no. I voted in favor of bills that you would say help the real estate industry or the building industry. It had nothing to do with the fact that they gave me money. It happens because I know what the problems in that industry are, and I think that it's a very important industry to protect. Not that they gave me the money, but you could very easily look at the ledger sheet and say, the money was given, this is how he voted, therefore that must be it.
Let's say there's a cause you're not so passionate about or you're kind of indifferent about. I think that's where the influence is more corrosive. Issues that you sort of kind of know where you feel instinctively, I think it's less so, but definitely an issue that may not be on the forefront.
There are people, there's one person who, he and his immediate family gave over $200,000 to Malloy's campaign effort. Now, I know how politics works. When that person calls up the governor may not give them what they want every time, but that call is going to be responded to.
Clearly, there are many problems with the current system, but why should the average citizen care?
I think that one of the reasons is because you're paying for it. The money is being transferred from you, the taxpayer, or you, the citizen in Connecticut, to me, the candidate. And do you want that transfer to occur? Do you want to subsidize my bumper stickers?
Our elections are more and more being controlled, in my opinion, by the wealthy few people who have the ability to afford these large donations and put these commercials on the airwaves or send mailers out. and where we used to have the ability to just raise a finite amount of money and that would fund your entire election.
The greatest impact that we've seen of the role of money in politics is to decrease the ability for ordinary people's voices to be heard. So the issues that average Americans care about, the priorities that families have, are much harder to become a part of the campaign process.
The current problem facing our state is agreeing upon a solution to these host of issues.
Personally, my feeling is the short term and the long term. The short term is to go ahead and remove the loopholes that Malloy and the Democrats created and go back to what was a good campaign finance system.
I would probably be voting right now to eliminate the money flowing from the state to the candidates. I don't think it's generated new candidates. I think it has done a lot of wasteful spending, and I just don't think it's working. It definitely hasn't driven the big money out of the system.
Well, there are two primary problems that you can address through immediate remedies. The first would be to require disclosure of political gifts, particularly the largest political gifts, so that voters can see in time to make a decision before voting who is supporting which candidates and which ideas. But then the second part of that is to pass public campaign financing at the federal level and to make public campaign financing stronger at the state and local level so that candidates who are not depending on the big donors can run and be competitive and actually win elections.
It is clear that until politicians can agree on a solution, large money donors will have a greater influence on our government than everyday voters.